it doesn't really matter your capacity. I think there's great opportunities to engage and, again, like I said, learn and grow and nurture and foster these relationships, and that's really the key. That's the key to this country being a better place for everybody.
Hey there, welcome to Dirty Linen. As always, my name is Dani Valent, and I am thrilled to be with you for a chat about food, culture, all those good things. We love a return guest on Dirty Linen. It is great to get to know somebody and then catch up with them along the way and see what has changed and what they're up to. Today's guest is one such person. Dwayne Bannon-Harrison came on the pod a couple of years ago to chat about Mirritya Mundya, his the dining experiences that he offers with an Indigenous twist. And I'm thrilled to get Dwayne back on the pod because there is lots to talk about. Dwayne, welcome back to Dirty Linen.
Hey, good morning, Dani, and good morning, everyone.
We chatted a couple of years back about all kinds of things. It was such it was a really meaningful conversation to me, and I'm sure to the listeners, talking about so many different things like engagement and respect, using native ingredients and how they can be infused with other cuisines, like meaningful engagement. I remember one of the things that you said really stayed with me, and I've carried it forward, and it was this whole idea of First Nations people and Second Nations people, whereas all of us who came along afterwards as Second Nations, and I just felt like there was so much generosity in the way that you put things, and the way that you speak about your journey and the possibilities of walking together. So thank you so much for that conversation, and thank you for coming back to talk again.
Oh, you're welcome. It's nice that there was a good impact for you, and that's a big part of what the mantra in which we work is little incremental 1%ers, as I talk about, and the reference of First and Second Nations in particular is very popular, even throughout our forums and our training workshops and the people that I speak to. So. I think there's a element of restoration of getting it as best we can for people to connect with, and it's one that's very popular.
Oh, I love that. So, Dwayne, before we get on to, some of the things you've got coming up, for people who perhaps didn't listen to that podcast and aren't aware of what you do, give us a little rundown.
Yeah, I do too much, like all of us, first and foremost, disclaimer. But no, on my vision board is less is more, and it has been for the last 2 years. And I think in many ways I've been able to do that. But yes, I run an entity called Mirritya Mundya, which means hungry blackfish in my late grandmother's language. She had connections to the lower Snowy River people, and that particular language group is the Southern Ngarigu people, and I wanted to. One thing is that as I said on the previous podcast, my grandfather, who also I've lost in the physical, which is very sad. Now over 3 years. He taught me a lot about what I knew culturally and took me, bush and shared story and all the different things. But my grandmother also taught me lots. So that is dedicated to her and her people, the Ngarigu people, and that's Mirritya Mundya. So hungry blackfish. It's been swimming now for, I think, 7 years, Dani. Somehow we've kept it going, and it often gets to some places which is pretty humbling and overwhelming, and that's a testament to the genuine goodwill and opportunity there is around native food. So we do street food events here at our little abode, our little food trailer here at a place called Bomaderry, which is just north of the Shoalhaven River, and it's obviously those people that are familiar with New South Wales and the South Coast. We sit and do food experiences. We do some, event catering, but also we run a 5-course journey, which is a plentiful degustation every month or bi-monthly, just depends on what's going on. We run a little ad lib here, but on our social channels, which a lot of people would be tuning into, or probably in the show notes, you can kind of see what's going on. But we run that as a pop-up restaurant. I'm sure you want to talk about that a little more, so I won't go right into that. But that's one element where people can come and learn more about, I suppose, the journey we've had, the trials and tribulations, and the continued amazing work in the native food space, but most importantly, driven and led by First Nations people.
Yeah, I love that. Well, yeah, I think when people are engaging with native foods and ingredients, it's really important to look at the ownership. And I know it's really important to you that it's 100% Aboriginal owned and operated. What you do, and I think it's great to be able to engage with businesses in that way. And I also remember last time we spoke about when you're purchasing Indigenous ingredients, to be looking at organisations such as Supply Nation, which shows people some of the places where their money goes to the right places. Dwayne, when we spoke last, you did allude to the fact that there were some big things that you were working on. And I guess my inspiration for reaching out to you to come back on the show was an announcement that you made recently on your socials. I'm actually fizzing with excitement about it, but you should be the one to tell the listeners all about it.
Yeah, it's been a 2-year journey, actually, nearly to the day. And I suppose I'll give the context really, really quickly for people so they can understand. We also run cultural awareness tours on country retreats, and we also do a lot of education and training for workplace and corporates. And so obviously bringing that to the table got me involved with Trippas White Group. Trippas White Group they run a fair few sites around the continent of Australia, and I've got to be honest, I was a little bit hesitant at first, Dani. I got referred, and in my inbox I get a lot of requests and things that people, would like to collaborate or work with. And I've learned over 15 years that, time and energy is important, and how I invest that in certain spaces. So I certainly know that I'm not alone in that. I ended up taking the plunge and jumping on as the Indigenous Ambassador for Trippas White Group. So that involved, in the first phase of the work, me getting involved with their Reconciliation Action Plan, working with them around strategic documents, and also then deploying good cultural practice across the organisation. And we're still got a fair journey to go in that space, but we are tracking pretty well, and getting, prepared for the next level of our Reconciliation Action Plan this year. The executive, the CEO, then obviously came on country with us for 3 days. So it was pretty intense learning for the executive. It was really good to take them on country and to teach them and show them our story and connect them to, what we do culturally and traditionally. And then they went back and obviously worked really hard on infusing that through the organisation. So that was the first 12 months. The second 12 months, which we just come out of in 2024, we obviously consolidated on that work. We continued a little more, and then it came to actually, looking at actioning the work, and that then started getting me more involved in the culinary aspect. So we'd been kind of tinkering away at some of these opportunities, and obviously Trippas White Group, they came to me with some opportunities, and the first one was to collaborate and firstly put it to our Bangarra dance theatre. So a lot of people that are probably aware of Bangarra and the amazing work they do in dance, in particular in theatre, and they do amazing shows all across the country and have done for some time. they accepted myself to come on and help curate and develop and essentially facilitate a dinner which goes alongside their new show, Illume, which is coming up in June this year. It's a 10-night series in which they'll be doing, and we're offering a 3-course complimentary dinner to go with that at the Opera House. So, you can obviously suss that out. Obviously, there'll be plugs and different things, but that is actually the link to that is on our social media as well. And also on the Opera House, you can find that opportunity to come and, get involved and see what it's all about.
Wow. Well, I mean, I actually remember this. I had this same feeling when I was talking to you last time, which is there is always so much packed into your responses. Like, as you say, you do have a lot going on, but I feel like there's such depth to what you're doing that there are about a million threads of this conversation that I want to pick up on. But maybe like back to the just like Trippas White Group, perhaps people might not really get a sense of who they are and what they do. So they manage a lot of Australia's most iconic venues, especially around Sydney. So the Opera House, Taronga Zoo, the Royal Botanic Gardens, the Australian War Memorial. It's like they do really large scale catering and events. It's a massive organisation with the food and beverage done at scale. What were some of your, I suppose, concerns about engaging with a group like this?
Yeah, it's look, it's a big piece of work around, and this is, to give a connection to all areas, whether it's government, whether it's big corporates, whether it's NGOs, non-government organisations. There's a lot of work that goes on, and it's a shameless shout out to all the Indigenous businesses that are out there engaging. And you mentioned Supply Nation; it's a great resource. You'll see a lot of great businesses out there and doing some amazing work. So. Yeah, that is to your point, Dani. That is it's a big conversation. But I think the most important thing for me to kind of stay pertinent with here is there's always a lot of work to be done, and when it comes to big business matching with very small 100% sole trader, maybe partnerships or some kind of smaller business proprietary limiteds like ourselves. It's huge. And you mentioned that scale. There's also big business is good at big business for a reason, they're good at it. They sit right in that Western realm. They're quite successful in that. But for them to, and in particular, there was a component of the work that I had to help guide Trippas White Group through in relation to the Opera House event. That took probably about 7 weeks longer than what we thought. So to give that context, big business wants everything done 2 days before yesterday. So it's that constant work around, hey, this is really important that we get this done right culturally. We know enough to kind of say we know this is going to be a hold up. This mightn't be ideal. But if we want the best product or the best, opportunity and more importantly, the authenticity piece, then we have to do this, the right way, that's one of the big things for me in terms of how was I going to, have my voice recognised, heard. How can I also learn? I've learnt so much. Working with, to your point, the ways that they work with retail, procurement, the general way of how they're rolling these events out. Even this morning, I was just on a call with two of the head chefs from Taronga Zoo. It's absolutely incredible, and I'm learning as well. So there's a two-way learning piece as well. But the concerns were this is beastly. This is huge. I had people pull me up in the street this morning going, what the hell, you know, in a good way. But it's kind of like, wow, you know, there's 2 years of work that go into this. And as soon as I said that, even with those 3 people at coffee this morning, they kind of they had the aha moment. Oh, yeah, Dwayne's been working pretty intensively with these guys. So, yeah, that's kind of, the gist of that.
Yeah, interesting. And the Reconciliation Action Plan, I mean, a lot of corporates, you know, rightly are going through that process, and, you know, it should be hard, and it should be, you know, not just a document that sits in a drawer, but something that's enacted through every strand of the business every day. But a lot of smaller businesses aren't in a position to do that process. But what have you seen going through that process with Trippas White Group that you think any business would be able to take on?
Yeah. Look, the opportunity to commit, and I have to give them, I know I'm biased in this because I am contracted to them, but in terms of the reason I still am into my 3rd year with this contract is because they've given me room to help, you know, create those buffers, you know, to come to them with the hard line opportunities or the firm no's, you know what I mean? And there has been some no's, that opportunity is not quite right. Oh, you know, we're not quite understanding why, tell us more, you know? And those conversations have all been had, and you know, it's really important that businesses, I think, create their own, you know, connections to different people within the community, and in particular the Indigenous business sector. And again, we've spoken about it before. There's some incredible people doing some amazing work, but whatever kind of business I suppose you're involved with, you know, the Reconciliation Australia, knowing and having working with them for 15 years, I do and still have done their cultural service provision in different capacities over that time, and I've got to know the team there pretty well. They're always open for a conversation as well, and their job is to help facilitate that. So it's not always going to be perfect. You're going to hit hurdles. It's general 101 business. You've got First Nations people here to help guide, you know, what is going to be best practice and what are the opportunities. And I feel there are a lot of businesses that, you know, in my experience and time, that are probably treading on eggshells or a little gun shy to take that next step. But you can see definitely where it's done well. And for me, in my experience, and I only speak from that here, is, organisations, if they're open and they're willing to create that buffer, there's obviously always a middle ground, and I've had to find that with Trippas. That's important. So I think that's probably one of the number one parts to working with First Nations businesses in particular.
So I think, you know, some people might listen to this and think, oh, that's really interesting and that sounds great, but that's someone else. That's for someone else to do. Like, what are some of the, I guess, small and large reasons that someone might decide to walk this path themselves?
Well, it really, you know, stems back to it's humanity. It's you know, we're seeing some things flying around, you know, media, social media. I think we're all ducking our heads and having the cringe moments. We won't dive into that rabbit warren butt, Dani, today. But I think people can be intelligent enough to know what I'm saying. There's so much change that individuals, that families, that businesses, it doesn't really matter your capacity. I think there's great opportunities to engage, and again, like I said, learn and grow and nurture and foster these relationships, and that's really the key. You know, that's the key to this country being a better place for everybody. And I know, you know, at the moment we've had some testing times over the last few years, and still some more to come. But if we really want to create that meaningful change, then people can, you know, engage. They can book into it. You know, they can go down and have an amazing feed at Mabu. Like, how good's that? You know, had that opportunity late last year, and I loved it myself. You know, these are the opportunities that that people have at their fingertips literally now on a phone to help support and drive that, to drive that opportunity back to First Nations people and communities.
Yeah, I love that. And anyone who doesn't know about Mabu Mabu, that's Nornie Barrow's restaurant at Federation Square. Nornie's a Torres Strait Islander woman, and she brings so much heart, context, story, and by the way, it's delicious. So I think it's such a place to, I don't know, just to enjoy, but to ask questions and to have ideas float up within you. I think it's really great. And Dwayne, I love what you said before, we have some conversations with Trippas White where it's like, oh no, this isn't quite right, but then you said they will say, oh okay, tell us more. And I think it's that tell us more, that openness, that is such an important mindset to go into some of these conversations with. Would you say?
Absolutely, and look, there's an accountability piece, and from a business standpoint, most of the time we wouldn't be getting engaged unless we obviously knew what we were doing, or there was big parts to that opportunity. So there's always for me that accountability of, I'm happy to help you here. I know that this isn't exactly the way I would like to do it, but I can see, the opportunity here. But here is, a couple of things that I would like to raise. We don't always get that, and I want to recognise that that's, really important. That again, the business that is engaging with us can also, infuse that. They can benefit off that. They can leverage off that in spaces that isn't always about First Nations people either. That there's a whole way of cultural inclusion everywhere, in which these foundations can be really good practice. And to be honest, that generally is taken on board, and sometimes it's a surprise for different organisations that I work with.
Yeah, well, as you say, it's humanity, isn't it? And I guess lessons learned in one context can be applied in so many places. So, Dwayne, you mentioned that the executive team came on one of your cultural awareness experiences. I mean, can you talk about any transformations that you witnessed, or anything particular that really was an aha moment for your guests?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it really consolidated, and it was a familiarisation process as well. And this the on-country experience was the best part of a year in build-up. Again, there was planning, there was conversing, there was obviously the general logistics and budget and all the fun things, of negotiation before that occurred. So, they asked me what the best way was, and I said, well, if you really want to do it this way, the best way to come, is to do this, is to come on country and learn it. And so they did. So not all organisations do it that way. Sometimes, obviously we've had different pathways with different orgs to do the, more classroom sort of centric workplace training, and that's fine too. But yeah, the guys specifically wanted to get out and to get on country, and they did that. The impact was quite huge, like in many ways. Some of the staff that turned up hadn't engaged with First Nations people ever, and that's quite common, actually, believe it or not. They got to meet family and community, and then they got this amazing cultural experience. So it was I suppose what it is for us is an unveiling of who we truly are. And not having mainstream media or different perspectives of who we are outside of us, and this was a great opportunity. So emotionally, spiritually, and professionally, there was so much growth, and the guys still talk about it today, and it's best part of 18 months ago, how significant it was for them.
Wow, I love that. So you mentioned, that there are so many opportunities to engage with Indigenous knowledge and ingredients, experiences. So let's talk a bit more about the experience that you're offering alongside Bangarra. What could people expect when they book in?
Yeah, so obviously there's an amazing show on offer, and what we'll roll out is a well, it's a 3 course with an optional dessert, and we've gone with a theme, obviously, of a Gadhu, so Gadhu Dining experience. So Gadhu is actually the traditional language name for salt water in both the Dharawal and the Durga language speaking people. So those our northern neighbours are the Dharawal people, and they aptly gave permission to use the word Gadhu, which I was quite smitten with. I was very comfortable with that language word, and when it came back, we aptly named it Gadhu Dining Experience. So the rollout of the menu will feature a bit of a three-way platter. It'll also come into a main, which is one of our mainstay signature dishes, but just in a different way, and that'll showcase the baby snapper. It'll showcase Warrigal Green with our famous potatoes, and also some greens with some sea blight or sea celery, and that just gives a little touch on that Indigenous twist aspect. There's obviously the veggie alternatives as well, and then the optional dessert is a wattle seed brulee, in which I would love to take kudos for that, but I'm not the dessert chef. I'm not good. That's not my stronghold, but that's my amazing wife who helped create that dish as well. So we're pretty excited to see that roll out. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm going to go do some tastings and work a little more on some of the dishes. I'm really excited about the kangaroo dish that we're bringing out with our Kwandong burnt butter sauce. We trialled that menu item a few months ago, and it was a hit. So always the nutty professor, and love, as we all do as cooks, seeing how different flavours work. So yeah, it's a combo, and to see it roll out in that way is going to be pretty exciting.
Wow, it's so great. Like, I'm looking at the menu, and just even to see it with all those ingredients just laid out, it's really exciting. I mean, what does it mean to you to be presenting your food in this setting?
It's surreal, to be honest. I think it'll hit more once I attend the opening night and actually see it. But yeah, as you can see on social media, doing the photo shoot and working with Chef Jimmy there at the Opera House, it was cool. It was one of those moments where I know as cooks and chefs, you have a vision. It was very audacious, but quietly and confidently, I kind of knew it would get somewhere eventually. As we all do, we have a slightly different vision of perhaps how it could get to that space. But I'm just happy that people get to experience, a little bit about what we offer, but more importantly, they get to experience the beauty of our culture, and that through food is the best way, and that's, the best.
Following it up with a Bangarra performance, so incredible Indigenous dancing. I mean, that the Bangarra performances I've seen have just been like heart-stoppingly amazing. I just can't imagine the energy that someone would leave that whole evening with. Be incredible thing to carry forward. Dwayne, what do you hope will come from this? Like, what do you hope someone who's sitting down, having this kangaroo slice with the burnt butter kwandong sauce and some wattle seed brulee with some strawberry gum biscuit, like what sort of change do you hope you will call forth with this?
I think I said this last time. More natives in the ground, more in embracement of the food culture, which is the oldest in the world. And even in the in Green Square in Sydney with a little patio, you can grow up to a dozen different herbs and plants and fruits just in a little couple of pots. People to really just embrace it and then go out and explore further is pretty much, what I hope that I'm going to play some part in.
Yeah, for any young Indigenous people who are listening to this, Dwayne, and thinking, they'd love to be a part of bringing native ingredients or just bringing their own skills to the table in this industry, what kinds of words of advice would you have for them?
Yeah, stay solid with who you are, number one. The world is starting to get better prepared slowly but surely for what we have and what we have to offer. What you are looking to aspire to, keep following that pathway. Follow those footsteps of the old people, and that is your North Star, and you'll be guided. And that's pretty much what I've done. I got to be honest with you, Dani. I think I said this last time. I nearly folded this business 3.5 years ago. I've got a lucrative opportunity in other spaces, a lot more comfortable, cushy, opportunities to make a living for my family, but I persevered. And there's something about the little blackfish that could, as I said in one of my social media posts. There's something there, and I trusted that. I trusted that intuition, and I just hope that other people listening, in particular First Nations mob that are listening, if you're interested in food, if you've got a love for food or culture or produce or whatever it is that you want to do in this space, it's our oyster, that's what I've got to say to that.
Oh, really powerful. Thanks, Dwayne. I'm looking out my window and I can just see my saltbush going pretty crazy out there in the garden. It loves this summer, and I do love just to pull off a leaf and chew it as I walk along the street and just have a think about things. Thank you so much for the work that you do, and thanks for persisting. And I just think the ripples from what you're doing are really powerful and extraordinary. And we're so lucky that you're doing it. So and appreciate your time and coming back for a chat, Dwayne. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Dani. Thanks for having me on second time. And maybe once you have time to digest, we can do it again.
That sounds great, because I'm sure you will have more to talk about. We know less is more, but sometimes more is more too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Okay. Thanks, Dani.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta @Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.